So, hey guys,
Hi.
Hello.
how are you doing?
Good. Good.
That's not the right slide. But shall we begin, please? As
We could talk about that. Like, won't we just switch it up?
So first, as you know, guys, in my introduction yesterday, I was explaining you our pillars with La Grand Poste, where we host music entertainment companies. We also have a partner like Link Square, which invests in entertainment and tech companies. And we're also running California, which helps companies to understand better the music industry via this kind of event, but also via acceleration programs. And for us, it was important to close the summit just before the demo day of the accelerator by discussing with VCs, investors, but also by having a company that has not raised funds, correct, yet?
No, our entire funding was, $50,000 loan Canadian dollars from my mother 18 years ago that she made us personally guarantee because she's an accountant and that's how she rolls. But that's it basically.
Okay, so I propose maybe to make a short roundtable, like 15 seconds, 20 seconds, to present, to introduce yourself. Naoki, maybe? To begin?
Hi, this is Naoki. I'm at AVEX, Japanese leading music company. Then I run the LA subsidiary that has music label and venture investment fund, where we announced the expansion to $25 million fund.
I'm Daryl Ballantyne, the founder and CEO of Lyric Find. I'm the token person that will tell you not to raise funding sometimes.
Hi, I'm Alex Chalmers. I'm the managing director of Stadia Ventures. We're an early stage sports and esports venture firm based in the US and have quite a little bit of a crossover into music and entertainment based on what we do in sports and esports.
Hi, I'm Stephen O'Reilly. I'm a director at IE Music. We're a music management company. We're probably best known for managing Robbie Williams for the past 25 years. And I also run our ventures business called IE Music. That's me.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for being with us. So first question, very easy. Why investing in music? Maybe, Stephen?
Thank you.
Music and tech.
Music and tech. Well, IE Music, we've been a successful music management company for 25 plus years, and I felt that it was an interesting opportunity to diversify outside of just relying on music management commissions. So our kind of success and bottom line is all completely tied to artists and their income. That's our music management's model is a percentage of what the artist makes. So I thought IE Music had a great brand and a great name and a great reputation. We'd done the biggest deal in music history in the UK for Robbie and EMI back in 2001, I think. So we have a lot of experience and we have a good reputation and a name and a brand. And I had a background in music tech startups. I ran a company called Mobile Roadie that was a West Coast, Los Angeles-based mobile app creation platform. Then I ran Topspin's international business outside of America. And both of those companies had interesting investors. Mobile Roadie, like the two first investors of kind of reputation, was Guy Oseary, who manages Madonna and now U2 and Red Hot Chili Peppers, and also Ashton Kutcher, the actor, and he's gone on to be an amazingly successful investor. So I was at companies that those guys were involved in and invested in early stage, and having been in that world and looked at their kind of philosophy, I just kind of like, I was waiting until I was at a place where I could leverage my history in music technology and relationships with venture capital, successful venture capitalists, and a company like IE Music, who had a credible history in music. When you put the two of those things together, maybe there's some extra value or leverage that we could have created. So that's why I set that business up.
Thank you. Same question for you, Alex. Why investing in entertainment?
Yeah, for us, our founders set up Stadia with this idea of actually, an interesting initial concept was how to stop retired athletes from opening bars and restaurants and actually look at making investments into something valuable and something that could exist. And so our ethos is really very simple of like, how do we find good entrepreneurs and then get them connected to the good people in the industry? So we rely on a very strong network of industry executives. And for us, it's sports, esports, and business executives that are our bread and butter, our mentors, our guides, our judges, our potential business development opportunities, our potential acquirers. But from the viewpoint of, we're always just trying to connect with good entrepreneurs, really focus on the individuals, really focus on how they are as businesses, because we want to be able to mentor and accelerate the growth of that individual and that company. And then because of, again, we are quite holistic to sports, so we see everything across global market from skateboard technology to VR to AR to human performance. But we've had such a crossover of pivot into military components, into music and entertainment, and in all different sort of aspects. And so, again, we're always just trying to effectively still that same mission. How do we find those good entrepreneurs and get them through to those good people in industry?
Naoki?
Yes. So as a major level perspective, like we are kind of forced by the environment, right? It's the only way to catch up innovation by investing in startup and partner with really cool people. Then we have invested in 7 companies so far, including Wave XR, who produced Justin Bieber's virtual concert, Strange Loop Studios, the Weekend NFT thing. And so more personal level, I think there's a really huge opportunity, untapped opportunity in the music tech space, because it's an essential business that is not really correlated to the global economy. So I think there's an opportunity to invest in those areas.
Okay, thank you. We always say via Link Square in California, the best fundraising for a startup is no fundraising, is having customers. And that's why I'm happy to have you on this panel, Daryl. Maybe could you go a little bit deeper on your experience with the bootstrapping, and maybe one day you will raise, but why?
Yeah, I think like for us, we ended up bootstrapping, although it was not by choice. I was just really, really bad at raising money. I tried, I sucked at it. It didn't work. But we kept hearing the same things of like, oh, well, come back when you have traction. Come back when you have this. And it's like, well, once I have all these customers that you want me to have, why do I need the money? Well, like, when I have people that are paying me, I can then grow organically. And we've been doing this for 18 years at this point. So if I'd actually been successful raising money when I was originally trying, it would have completely screwed us over, because we did not really hit our stride, and the market didn't hit its stride for us to become larger until like year 9 of the company, or 10. So we likely would have been forced into some sort of fire sale liquidity event at that point to return the funds to investors and for them to be able to close the fund. There's certain like time life cycles for a lot of VCs. So I think that if you can do it without tying yourself to certain timetables, or by getting money where it's strategic and offers you more than just a check, there can be a lot of value there. But there's a lot of people that I see, and a lot of startups that I see that are just chasing funding because they think it's what they have to do. They think that the only way for them to survive is to raise millions of dollars and try to grow really fast. And in all the time that we've been in the business, the number of companies that we've seen that are supposedly the next big thing, raise a pile of money, and then a year later they're gone, is huge. So I don't want to say don't raise money, because there's tons of scenarios and there's tons of value in doing that. But you really have to think about what your business is. Is it something where raising money and raising strategic money will really help? Or is it actually setting yourself up for failure because you're not going to have the right timeline, you're not going to have the right market for success in the time that you need, and you get addicted to the money. You spend a whole bunch of money, your burn rate goes really high, and then all of a sudden you have to raise another round. You have to raise another round. The founders of Lyric Find collectively own 90% of the company right now. So we would never have that kind of control if we had raised. We would have given up a ton of equity, and we would have had a much worse result. So much of it is thinking about your type of company. Is it something where growing really fast actually adds value and makes you long-term sustainable? Or is it something where you need to have that organic growth? So now that we're kind of on the other side of it, I think my quality of life is a lot better, not having to answer to investors, and we just answer to each other, and we're all very happy that way. But now, too, we get to be on the fun side of looking at other companies ourselves and looking for acquisitions and looking for things that can complement us and ways that we can support the rest of the ecosystem, be a customer to a startup and things like that, to help them get to sustainability.
Okay, any reaction, guys, on this story?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, for us as well, there's always a sense of, is it actually looking like a venture-backed business, or does it look like a lifestyle business? And often, look, we're piling companies into an accelerator-based model, so we see ourselves as a strategic advisor, an investor, because we're literally putting our blood, sweat, and tears into the benefit of a company through its journey. But the reality is that there are a lot of companies that are too lifestyle-led, and they just are not. They shouldn't be venture-backed. They shouldn't be raising money. They can survive on grants because that can be a structure and a focus that can be successful for them.
We heard that a lot. Like, oh, it's how are you going to be a billion-dollar company? 15, 16, 18 years ago, I didn't have a fucking clue how we were going to be $1 billion. I was like, we're not. It's just not going to happen. There's no way that the lyrics business hits that level. And times have changed, and all that is different. But you have to have that potential to have 100x on it. And even I didn't see it at the time. So I don't blame anybody for not investing in us. They made the right decision then with the information that they had. But yeah, when you can have that strategic, when you talk about like supporting them and having those extra resources and putting them in a program, when you have an investor, like Steven was talking about Mobile Roadie with Ashton Kutcher and Guy Osiri, people who can open a massive door for you, that has a ton of value. Because that type of stuff where somebody with a single tweet can take your company from obscure, nobody knows about you, to massive scale and awareness, that's more valuable than any check.
Now, Key, any focus specifically on with your fund on the music industry?
Oh yeah, so different. Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna listen through the comment, but we are strategic capital, so I mean, it's always a trade-off. Like corporate money, which we invest in money, like each of us expect for the strategic value in the short term, but it's actually really limit the possibility of the startup, right? If we invest the money, they have to commit some resource to a corporation. So if you take money from strategic investor like a music company or corporation, like focus on not only the short-term synergy, but there's a long-term synergy that you can imagine, and your mindset set the same. That's the only way to take those type of money, I think. And then my fund focus is, I would say, it's Web 2.5, I say. Like there's a big bunch of opportunity out there, but it's really tough. It takes time to adaptation, but still a bunch of opportunity like virtual concert, virtual music industry. Imagine the gaming industry is 10 times as big as, 20 times as big as music industry. So let's imagine like just 10% of gaming industry turns out of music industry in the virtual world. It's a significant growth of the music industry. So I'd say, yeah, I mean, Web 2.5 is my focus at this point.
Stephen?
The areas that we've invested in are areas where we think we can add value and like put our knowledge, and sometimes if our artists can help as well. Like so we have music creation software investments. We have investments in the education space because we're passionate about education. We have investments in the ticketing space because we think that there's a lot of inefficiencies in the business. So there are kind of areas of interest, but we would also we're open to things that are non-music as well. If we think that our input will, that our music history can like influence something in sports, we would be like interested in that space. And I guess outside of like technology, we're actually really interested in founders, in people. Like I kind of see these founders that we invest in like musicians. You know what I mean? Like a musician is a startup founder when when you boil it down to it. They're building teams, they're raising finance, they're going on the road, they're telling a story. So it's very similar, in my opinion. I've invested in companies where, we're early stage, so we don't invest millions of pounds. But like I wasn't sure about the startup. I was sure about the person. I was like, this guy is going to do something interesting, and even if this small amount of money, which is money still, it fails, I still think he's going to do something brilliant. And if we can have helped him, that or her, that is success for us,
Maybe the first album really sucks, but the second one is a hit.
Yeah. So there's so many analogies between, like, we managed Passenger for 20 years, and before I was at the company, and it was his fifth record that became commercially successful, but the company stuck behind him for 4 records.
Alex, same question. Any focus specifically?
Yeah, I agree. It's sort of, for us, the focus is going to be on the individual, as you say, as well. It's so much so on we have to help guide them, mentor them, literally teach them around. Maybe it's teach them around funding. Maybe it's teaching them on how to approach an investment conversation to a business development conversation. But we're an early stage investor as well. We're like pre-seed to Series A. So much of it is, again, there are other venture firms that will go out there and find and say, you look at a company and say, well, this is a very successful looking venture-backed business. That might not be the company that we necessarily invest in, because we might be saying, well, look, where are the areas that we can offer added value? And as you said, rightly so as well, is like if we can see the market opportunity, if we look at a company and say, if we can actually make probably 100 introductions to that business, then we see them as an opportunity that we can actually help them. But if we can only see 20, 30, 40 opportunities for them, we'll pass them on and we'll send them to friends and say, look, here's a great business, here's a good founder, but we can't help it strategically. So again, it's always that added value. How can we drive the most value for them successfully?
Okay. When you are considering an investment, what are the key criteria when you analyze a company? Naoki?
I'd say the quality of the founder, everything, right? So the founders have right vision, they are natural born winners, the energy is everything. Like we tried the several criteria, but end up with like first impression and the energy of the founders always matter.
Stephen?
I particularly enjoy people who come to an actual product rather than a PDF, so I kind of respect people that have like bootstrapped their businesses, have something tangible, and usually when someone comes to looking for money before they have an MVP, like for me that's a little bit of an alarm bell, so people that have gone on and bootstrapped, put their own money into the product, for me, they're the kind of people that you always back.
Those are the type of people that are looking for a job more than a life as an entrepreneur, right? If they're not willing to take some risks themselves and build before getting the money. Like I have lots of friends who say, oh, I'd love to start something if only I could find somebody to invest so I can keep getting paid. It's not going to happen.
Lifestyle business.
Yeah. They just want to make sure that they still get that paycheck and they still that there's no risk. And that's not the life of an entrepreneur.
And maybe I'll quickly add to that one, like there are folks that I really respect them because it's as you said, it's very hard to go out and raise money, but some people go and like they do 3 or 4 raises, they have like one startup failure, another one raise the money again, failure. They just keep going, and it's like a template of keep raising and never doing anything, or failure is fine as well, by the way, but for me, product before a PDF.
Yeah, I think, look, the essential thing is their ability to communicate. Now, that's across everything. So, but if you as a venture firm are trying to communicate with them, every single communication that we send is a test, right? How do they respond? How quick are they responding? How accurately are they responding? How are they showcasing their pitch deck? What are they doing? What's their traction? Are they showcasing their cap table? Are they providing their financials? Every single detail is a test of how we see them as, right, is this a company that we can physically invest in? I think another thing, a factor that we really look at as well from our side is that, okay, there are a lot of fantastic solo founders and individual, like sort of one, well, not necessarily one-man teams, but solo founders. We struggle there because there is so much that happens within early stage businesses that where we can have groups with co-founders or multiple teams is a huge plus. So there's a bit of a red flag when it's an individual solo founder that always comes up because we're like, right, are they actually going to be able to manage the growth of their business and the day-to-day running of their business at the same time and raise a fund and go and do a business development pitch and do this and do that and run their own life and family, et cetera, et cetera. So that often is a factor. And then another focus is around, look, are they already looking at an advisory group that is supporting them? But how are they going out to actually select those advisors? And are those advisors key to the growth and strategy of their short-term, medium-term, long-term success of their business? If their advisors are just friends of family or people non-industry related, again, red flag. Let's look at how they're selecting advisors and where they're making that point to be, right? That's a huge valuable plus to an early stage business because that advice at that early stage is crucial to then next generation.
Not my last question, but nearly. How would you recommend founders to approach you, to contact you?
I guess, LinkedIn is, like, Twitter is a useful tool. I've always found Twitter, like, very effective for me, going back 15 years. You could reply somebody on Twitter, and that worked for me in the past. LinkedIn, it's a bit spammy these days, but it's about professional and it's work. LinkedIn, and then, if a website, if a company has a website, they probably have a phone number. You can pick up the phone to the secretary and leave a message. The kind of analog type thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I think it's every accelerator or incubator or all of these programs and venture firms are happy to speak to startups. If they're not, then there's something going wrong. So the reality is they're always happy to take a call. They're always happy to see a pitch deck. The best people in the industry. I actually was on a call with someone at Adidas recently, and we were almost sort of surprised by it. He's the SVP of innovation there, and he just like, look, I never say no to speaking to a startup. And actually, it's quite rare to hear that in the marketplace. Most people in those leadership positions in innovation are saying no because they're overflown or there's too many coming to them. So I think for us, it's always this ability of like, we'll always have a conversation. We'll then have a conversation transparently with you to say, is the timing right? Should we have this conversation in 6 months? We would love to see this from you, or we can put you in contact with this. So yeah, it's always pick up the phone, write an email, find information on websites, contact through LinkedIn, any channel possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I say the easiest thing to find the mutual friend. That is really important to me. So I cannot deny if the person wants to make an intro. Then I agree with everyone that. So the multiple channels, but like if the person approaches me through either LinkedIn, Facebook, everything, but all the messages are really concise and accurate and effective. Like I see this guy is really proactive and really smart to communicate. So I think I get interested to meet.
Okay, thanks, guys. The last question for you four. A last recommendation for startups, Daryl?
I mean, my recommendation is to really make sure that you love what you're doing. Because if you're going to go through the crazy journey of starting a company and being an entrepreneur, trying to raise money or trying to bootstrap or trying to do anything, it is a crazy roller coaster of crap. So if you don't love what you're doing, if you don't really believe in it, if you're just doing it because you think, oh, somebody's going to give me $10 million and then I'm going to flip it to somebody else for $100 million and then I'm going to retire to a beach somewhere, A, it's not going to happen, and B, you're going to be miserable along the way. So you have to really love what you're doing and be committed to it and believe in it. It took us 10 years to have any sort of meaningful profit and pay ourselves like a sort of market rate salary, and a long time to get to a great level of comfort. If we weren't really committed to it, if we didn't really believe in what we were doing and enjoy what we're doing, as much as many people will tell you, my co-founder and I often want to murder each other, but then we go and have fun. We're like an old married couple. But if we weren't committed to it, we would have been so miserable for such a large portion of our lives, and we would have failed so much more and so much faster. So just believe in what you're doing and have fun.
Yeah, perfect advice from someone who knows what he's talking about. So I won't repeat any of that, but brilliant. For me, like one tip for like other startup founders is to try and help out other startup founders. You know, like you don't always need to promote your own product all the time. You know, when I was in the tech startup world, I would champion my opposition or like someone that had rivaling technology instead of them being like your arch enemy. You'd be you should meet those guys. They're brilliant, and I think people appreciate you when you're not always looking out solely for yourself. You know, adding other value outside of give me money or invest in my company. It's like bring other value outside of that. You know, I think people really appreciate and remember when you're not just solely focused selfishly on yourself, which might sound ironic, but that's what I believe to be useful. And how do you differentiate yourself from other people? You know, add other value and enjoy the social part of the business as well.
Having other founders to bounce things off of, sympathize with, deal with, like go through all the crazy bullshit with is super valuable, because you'll have problems, they'll have problems, and sometimes you'll have already had the problem that they're having now and vice versa, and it helps immensely. So it's excellent advice.
Yeah, I concur as well, because when we run a program in an accelerator, we're running like 5-6 companies at the same time. And actually, that's the one factor that they don't think about in the program. They're thinking, right, how can I drive investors? How can I drive business development? But actually, that intercommunication between the portfolio is ridiculously strong. The one thing I would say is also don't cut corners on developing culture or building your team is essential, because there's so many, now it's so easy to go and outsource your CFO or your marketing executives or different things like this, because it's, there are many companies out there that are offering those services, but be very careful as to how you generate and focus on the culture of your company as a startup, but how you're selecting those individuals to join your team, because it is such a factor that you just see such turnover in early stage businesses. And as founders, you've got so much passion in your business, it's difficult for your employees to share sometimes that same passion. So you've got to be very critical of how you're developing that culture of your organization to be successful.
And Naoki?
Yeah, I think the founders are always queens and kings, because they get the biggest value, make a biggest value if they get successful. But please be humble, but at the same time, don't take stupid money. Only partner with people who really respect you, loves you, team and ideas. Because if you take stupid money, it's going to be a waste of time. And when you get successful, you lose like few million at least. So, yeah, that's my advice.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Stephen, Alex, Daryl, Naoki. It was really insightful. I propose before launching the demo day, I'll take 1 or 2 questions. So is there any questions on the audience? I'm pretty sure you have questions. Yes.
You have a nice diversity of countries on the panel. Any perspective on the challenges of different valuations or cap tables or working with the SEC in the United States? How drastically do you consider the differences between raising money in Europe or Canada or the US or other markets? Any advice in that regard?
I mean, I think it's definitely very different in Canada than even in the US. Canadian VCs are typically much more risk averse for some reason. I think it's potentially part of our culture. Valuations are lower, and it doesn't really have there isn't really a good explanation why, but there isn't the same VC ecosystem and competition in Canada as you might find in Silicon Valley or other places. So it does make it a bit more challenging. I know that obviously this is old information, but when we were trying to raise, there was like 2 VCs in Canada that would even think about digital music investing, right? And but there was tons in the U.S. and like I said, we failed at all of them, so it didn't make a difference. But there was a very, very stark difference in the types of offers or floated valuations in Canada versus in the U.S. at the same time.
Well, I can only give like a UK perspective, if that's helpful. Like, there are some great government UK-based schemes and incentives for folks to invest in startups like SEIS and EIS. So they've been very helpful, and there's been some success stories from them. So that, for me, it has been a success story in the UK, in my opinion. Tax incentives from the government, and then well, UK are out of Europe, but like things like the European Union are still investing in ideas and people and technology startups. So don't be afraid to look for access to funding that's available from government. Not too au fait with the US side of things.
There's great support programs in Canada from the government for funding tech development, for other different industry-specific grants, and that. It's also nice as an entrepreneur to have healthcare and not have to worry about like something happening to me while I'm doing a startup and I don't have healthcare because I'm self-employed and getting started. So there's a lot of value to that compared to say the U.S. But there's trade-offs everywhere.
We will close the session here. Thank you so much, guys. But John Aquaviva is with us. And I propose you answer this question in 1 minute before the closing of the panel, if it's okay for you. Why invest in music and entertainment?
Well, thanks. Actually, plane, trains, and automobiles this month. I literally was on the ice, and it stopped at the border. Anyways, why we invest? I've got a long history, and I'm addicted to music. So DJing, we made money, and it's our world. So we just kind of kept in there. We wanted to stick around for a while. And part of it with our success is we started managing our money and investing in people around us, So the opportunities that presented themselves in what has been over 3 decades, starting off with the guy, Richie Houghton, and starting a techno label, continue. So I came together with another partner, Rishi Patel, and we make the rounds. We're big fans of California, so one of us usually has to come here, and I made it just in time. And so we invest in our lifestyle, in our friends and family, so a little bit different than other people who maybe come in, wow, what a trendy opportunity, because music is one of the more interesting places, less lucrative, but in the creator space, but it's what we do, it's our life, so, and then we want to make money at it because we live in a capitalist world.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much, guys. The demo day will begin in 5 minutes, so stay here, and we'll listen to 12 startups that took part of our acceleration program. See you soon.